Welcome to another edition of Papa's Perspective, brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store and a mattress partner of the New York Giants. The 100th season celebration continues, and we're bringing on various broadcasters, and we said, Super Bowl 42. Troy Aikman was behind the mic for Fox. Why not bring him on board to talk about it? Troy, thank you so much for a couple of minutes, first and foremost.
You're welcome. Yeah, glad to be on, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, so the Giants did their top 100 countdown, and a guy all too familiar, Lawrence Taylor, finished first in the voting. And it's been it's a special season for the Giants, and I don't think there's anything more special than Super Bowl 42. As you look back on it, having done the NFC Championship game and having done the game where the Giants played the Cowboys in the divisional round, did you get a sense going into this that they had more of a shot than most people thought?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they obviously had a lot of good things going for them. The way that they played through the postseason and into that Super Bowl. But New England, they had a lot going for them as well. But I don't know that a lot of people gave them much of a chance going into that ball game. But I think the fact that I had seen them. Throughout the regular season, but then also more importantly, once they got into the postseason and the role that they got on and the way that they were able to carry themselves, I thought they did have a shot, and it was a team they were familiar with based on the way that they finished the regular season as well. So I think there was some familiarity, but a lot of good things had to go their way in that game, and they did.
Obviously, they were able to get a lot of pressure on Brady, right? I mean, the Patriots are leading 7-3 through three quarters, and this is a team that had set every NFL scoring record. What was in your opinion, the key to their success of being able to hang with New England and sort of not allow New England to play the game they were accustomed to playing?
Yeah, I think that was the entire key, Bob. I mean, the fact that they go into that game, New England, with this high octane arsenal, and yet the Giants were able to keep the score down. And I feel like that was the key in giving them an opportunity to win that game. That there was no way that the Giants wanted to get into this shootout. And the defensive front for the Giants, they dominated the line of scrimmage. They continually harassed Brady throughout that game, and that's why they were where they were late in the game with an opportunity, within scoring distance to win it. But probably as people look back on that. It's a great point that you make, and even bringing it up, because people remember a lot of things about that game, but I don't know that stands out as much as some of the big plays, of course, that happened down the stretch.
Think about it, even late in the first half, Brady hits a couple of passes. They're driving. I think they're at plus 42 or whatever it was. And then, Brady gets sacked and he fumbles the football away. They were really good at taking away opportunities with the pressure on the quarterback. Tuck had a couple of sacks. Strahan gets a sack. Osi with the fumble recovery. That team, you played on some great teams, some powerhouse teams loaded with Hall of Famers. Conversely, you look at that Giants team, it was really a sum of the parts. When you think about the guys that wound up playing roles for them, obviously everyone remembers Tyree, but whether it's Ahmad Bradshaw stealing a ball away underneath a pile to keep a possession, Kevin Boss, a rookie tight end, with that big play to start the fourth quarter. It was an interesting team, the Giants, because it wasn't loaded with a lot of household names.
No, it wasn't. I mean, you talk about Strahan and Tuck and guys like that. I mean, obviously they had great years, and Strahan's a Hall of Famer, and I'm sure Eli will be as well. I think there obviously were some really talented players, but I've always felt, and I think maybe it's a product of the way Tom Coughlin handled things as a head coach. I just feel that during his tenure, and that year in particular, that the Giants were, you say, the sum of their parts. I just feel like they were the consummate team, and teams are what wins championships, and the Giants proved that. And I think Tom Coughlin's teams, by and large, each and every year, really reflected what it meant to be part of a team. I think he preached that, I'm sure, each and every day, and those Giants players I feel were very unselfish. I think back to the teams that I was a part of that won championships. They're unselfish teams. The Giants were unselfish during that year, and then put it together, and it paid huge dividends for them once they got into the biggest game of the season. But they represented that, and it was reflected, I think, throughout the season, and especially in the postseason. I look back on that run for them, and I would put that run and Eli's play during that postseason up against anyone's. I just thought it was really magical what they were able to do, and then to cap it off against a team like the Patriots, who were trying to make history of their own. It was quite an accomplishment and a tremendous way to end the year.
It's human nature when we're working an event. You're working the event, you're focused on the event as you're broadcasting it, but you also get caught up in it a little bit as it starts to unfold. At some point during this game, as you're looking at the scoreboard and you see it's 7-3 through 3, and then Tyree gets the touchdown catch to start the fourth, and suddenly the Giants are up 10-7. You're kind of sitting there saying to yourself, they may actually pull this thing.
No, you're right. I mean, I think the fact that it was close as late as it was, you start thinking, you're in the back of your mind, you're kind of waiting for things to kick in and for the Patriots to do what they had done throughout the year. And like you said, the Giants were opportunistic. They just didn't allow it to happen. And then as the game continued to roll on, and you start, Joe and I, we go to commercial break, and we're thinking, man, they just might do this. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, it looks like they might be able to pull this off, and then they were able to. So that was, we've called a few Super Bowls, and that one is the one that certainly stands out for me amongst all the ones that I've called.
And then suddenly New England in the fourth quarter looks like New England. They went down the field. Brady winds up hitting Randy Moss in front of Corey Webster, and it was like the first time all day that was the offense that we had seen all year. And they got the lead with, 2:30 to go in the game. And you're like, all right, now it's your turn, Eli. And, there's still questions about him. And, Jacobs makes that. Everyone forgets that Jacobs barely made the fourth down conversion to that drive. And then the Tyree play. I mean, as it's happening in real time, it's crazy. But now you're in replay. I'm sure you're on talkback with the director. Like, give me an angle of the pit. Like, it was the most insane play ever.
Oh, it was when it was unfolding in real time. I was actually shocked that it didn't get called, that the play didn't get called. That they didn't blow it dead. That Eli was in the grasp. I just thought, okay, and somehow he spins out of that to even keep the play alive. And in talking with Joe after the fact, he almost, as the play-by-play, almost ruled the play over as well by what happened. And then the replay, Eli essentially just gives his guy a chance, puts it up there and see what happens. And then for Tyree to be able to make the catch, which, I don't know where that ranks in the history of plays by the New York Giants. It might rank higher in the NFL. I mean, when you start looking at the plays over the history of our game, I mean, that's got to be right up there near the top. Just a phenomenal play. I mean, imagine David Tyree and him being able to carry that with him for the rest of his life. Something that no Giants fan will ever forget. Certainly a play that I'll never forget. Was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, Patriots fans haven't forgotten it either.
They haven't forgotten it either. You're right.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think about that whole scenario, right? And if Rodney Harrison doesn't pull Tyree down directly on top of him and to either side, most likely the ball winds up hitting the ground and pops out. But Rodney Harrison's body broke the fall for Tyree to keep him off the turf. And then, everyone forgets about the big Steve Smith catch along the sideline, another rookie, to kind of keep it going. And then, the Plaxico play, Eli's talked about it a million times. In Plaxico, they knew what New England wanted to run, and they knew they were going to sit on that slant, and they couldn't wait. As you were looking at it, did you see what they saw?
Yeah, you know what? As you're talking about that, Bob, right now, I got like goosebumps because I remember Joe's call on that play, and Plexico and the Giants scoring, and I don't know the exact words he used, but it was pretty minimal. But it was such a it was the David and Goliath, type situation, and to be put in that position after how they got down there to that spot on the field, and then to make that call, it was a great call. Yeah, I mean, New England had been aggressive throughout the game. To be able to run the slant and go and get Plexico up the left sideline for the touchdown was outstanding. It was a nice ending to what had been a great game.
But Brady still had a couple bullets left in the holster, and
Yep.
Carl Banks will always say his respect at that point in time for Brady grew appreciably. The beating that he took, and then for him to deliver some of the throws that he delivered under fire at the end, and doing one of these podcasts with Corey Webster, I can't believe he actually admitted this. I asked him on that tip play on the deep go down the left side that Moss nearly caught. He goes, "Yeah, I was playing for the interception there. I wanted to get the pick." And I'm like, "Dude, you realize all you had to do was knock it down. You almost
Yeah.
changed it." But
Yeah.
Brady till the end proved his brilliance there.
Well, I do think, yeah. I mean, in defeat, I do feel that way, and I think that there's a reason why Tom had the career that he had, and he was able to accomplish what he did. So for him to battle the way that, because you're right, he took a beating in that game. Uh, I think just illustrated to America, why he's the champion that he is. But on the other side of that, Bob, with Webster. Um, you never know. I mean, hey, we've all seen enough games, and the guy who intercepts the ball and the game's over, and they keep running, and then the coach is saying, "Get down, get down." I mean, there's always those elements that you just never know exactly what players may or may not do, and so yeah, he was fortunate that didn't get caught.
And then Eli obviously goes on and wins another one. Still holds the record for postseason yardage of any quarterback ever for that 11 postseason. And speaking of beatings, even though you didn't do that Super Bowl, you did the NFC Championship game. It must have been reminiscent of your rookie year in the NFL when you got pounded, the pounding he took in San Francisco that day.
Yeah, I just, again, going back to what I said a little bit earlier, I just think that those Super Bowl runs that Eli had, I would put those up against any quarterback's postseason in the history of our game. I just thought he played at a level that is just hard to get to, and he's a big reason, obviously, why they were able to win those world championships.
Troy, as the Giants celebrate 100 seasons of Giants football, obviously your broadcast, so many of the games that you did, including Super Bowl 42, we felt it was apropos to have you on. We appreciate a couple minutes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
That's Troy Aikman joining us on Papa's Perspective, brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store and a mattress partner of the New York Giants.